Good morning. Welcome into Five Clubs. Great to have you with us live on a Tuesday morning from our studios in rainy Charlotte, North Carolina, here on Golf Channel, also PGA Tour Radio. That is Sirius XM's Channel 92. I'm Gary Williams. You know this program is brought to you by Century Insurance. Business insurance, it's what they do. Let them do it for you. They're also investing in golf, as you know, in great ways with the USGA, with the First Tee, and we are proud to have them present us Golf Pride. Speaking of pride and being proud, they're proud of their products. They should be. They're the best. Best materials, best products, best options. Golf Pride. I'm talking through the bag. My reverse tapered putter grip that I put in my bag in September of 2023. We're going into 2026, haven't had to replace it, and I play a smidge of golf. And of course, Peter Millar, it's rainy here, it's cold. This Lyle full zip sweater with the custom twisted Scottish yarn, it can be yours. I don't know about mediums, they may be all out. They make one. I'm wearing it. Go to Peter Millar and petermillar.com for all of your apparel needs, the best lifestyle brand there is. And they have a ton of retail locations across this country. It's hard to imagine that I'm getting ready to say what I'm going to say. In an hour, you're going to get Tiger. Those days don't happen much. He's going to speak at the top of the next hour. And of course, it's his event this week. And if you think about it, we haven't heard from him much at all in 2025. And at the end of this month, he's going to turn 50. And his event, which has become and has been a staple of this time of the year for a long, long time, for the better part of his entire professional career, he did what Bobby Jones did. Now, the Hero World Challenge did morph into the Masters tournament, but the Augusta National Invitation was a gathering of friends. At the beginning of spring, well, Tiger's event, the Hero World Challenge, which was in California for many years, they had one stop in Florida, it's been home in the Bahamas for many years now. He gathers a number of his friends, and they got to have a certain profile, and I'll get to my thoughts on that in just a moment. But coming up in less than 15 minutes, a guy who I thoroughly enjoy, wherever it may be and for however long, a conversation with Darren Clarke, the champion golfer of the year in 2011. He will be captaining the European team, of which there were three. You heard from Jim Furyk a couple weeks ago. You heard from Mike Weir. Now you will hear from Darren Clarke. So it's the USA, the Internationals, and the Europeans at the Skechers World Champions Cup. That is this week. So Darren Clarke coming up in a very short amount of time. And then bottom of the hour, another guy whose conversation I enjoy because, boy, he has a wide view of golf, and he chases it, plays a lot, but does stuff that really enriches all of us. If you are somebody who's a member of the Broken Tee Society, if you're a subscriber to Golfer's Journal, we'll talk to him about those entities and how he and his great team have built them. And he also has two books, a coffee table book, and I am a sucker for a coffee table book, especially a golf coffee table book. They have one for that's for their premier subscribers, of which you can become one. And I'm saying that because I am one and pay the freight. But you can be too, because I promise you, it's going to give you more. Not to mention the quarterly magazine that they have, Golfer's Journal. I just got my winter edition. It's the best. It's the best magazine. It really is. Tom Coyne, the editor, joins me at the bottom of the hour. But back to the hero. Like I said, Tiger, you're going to hear him live. We're going to depart, and he is going to enter down there at Albany, and he will speak on a number of subjects. Looking forward to it. But his event is one where you look at it, and people who have criticism or misgivings about world ranking points being allotted to players in this event, I get it. 18 players, no cut. It is one of golf's great speakeasies. But my point about the field right now is that it is proof that if you hold on to belief long enough, whether you're somebody who hadn't had much or somebody who may have had some and maybe a lot, but then you lose it and then you reclaim it, you can get certain things like signature events. Those are the most important things now in the elite game on the men's side, to be able to have exemptions into those events, ideally all of them. But this event, if you look at the fields through the years, it's always been the best players. And if you look at this field, look, Tiger won this event on a number of occasions when he was in the prime of his career, would win more than anybody, and then he'd go to this and he couldn't help himself. I mean, win this as well. And if you look at this field, look, you have 8 guys who've won majors. Cumulatively, they have won 13 in total. And there are a lot of guys on this list that have played in a number of these events, a number of these Hero World Challenges. But there are a handful of them who maybe have played in 1 or 2 or are making their first start, which gets to my point. That events like this, if you get into an event like this, it means that you've had a very good year. And consider someone like J.J. Spaun. These are the stories that, to me, are why professional golf is so compelling, because you can't rely on others. And when you have a lot of doubt about whether you can do it, and you're getting your head kicked in and week out like J.J. Spaun was, go back to last year with me. He was 183rd in the FedEx Cup standings in the middle of the year. And right before the FedEx Cup playoffs, he was 148th with two starts left. So he's not even in the 125, which is what the number was last year, and now it's 100. And he said it himself out loud, like, I'm thinking, what am I gonna do? Like, I don't know. Am I going to be able to continue to try to keep the lights on and make a living doing this? And then he had a good week at the 3M, and then he finished 3rd, shooting 64 in the final round at the Wyndham, and he gets to 98th, and he's going, I got a job. And then this year happens, and he has these great weeks, starting at the Sony Open, and then at the Cognizant Classic, and then, of course, the playoff at the Players. And then the U.S. Open happens. J.J. Spaun at the end of last year was 112th in the world rankings. And again, my disclaimer, for those folks who go, I don't count those anymore. It's just for context. I get it. It needs to be resolved with respect to LIV players. But for the time being, just understand, he was outside the top 100. He was 112th. At the end of last year, he's the 6th ranked player in the world, and he's played in the Hero World Challenge at one of golf's great speakeasies. And you don't even have to bring your own chips. They give you the chips. Play 4 rounds, you cut a nice check, and you get world ranking points. And he's not the only one. Chris Gotterup, another guy. Yes, he had won an event on the PGA Tour, but he had a rash of missed cuts just to start this year. And then he started to pile together some top 25s, including a tied for 23rd at the U.S. Open. He goes off to Scotland, and what happens? Bam! And he finds himself in a final round of the Scottish Open with who? Rory? And you're going, he'll wilt, he'll shrink, he'll go away. Right through that guy to win the Scottish Open. And he didn't just get in the Open Championship and look around, buy some swag, and go, hey, this is cool, Portrush. Finish 3rd. Chris Gotterup is making his first start in the Hero World Challenge, and there are others as well. Andrew Novak. Consider the case of Andrew Novak, somebody who was well outside the top 100 in the world last year. And then he starts to put together a good 2025 and jumps up, and he's looking eye to eye with Justin Thomas at the Heritage. And then, of course, he won the Zurich with Ben Griffin, but they didn't get world ranking points. He's in this field. These guys are now in places they haven't been formerly. I've always said that talent can't be hidden, but sometimes talent gets broken by the system of all the guys you look out on and go, I don't know. I don't know if I can do this. They can all do it. It's just a matter, can you hold on long enough to break through that vortex and become who maybe even you didn't think you could become. Even Alex Noren, his hamstring tendon was so torn, they were going, you may not play competitive golf again. He won twice in the fall on the DP World Tour, including the BMW PGA. Great stories. All right, we take a break. Speaking of stories, he can tell a story. He will captain the European side at the Skechers World Champions Cup. 3-team event down there in Florida this week. You heard from Furyk, you heard from Weir. Now you hear from Darren Clarke. Great to have you with us. Tuesday edition, 5 Clubs Golf Channel, PGA Tour Radio, Sirius XM's Channel 92, the champion golfer of the year from 2011 with me next. Back in this Tuesday edition of 5 Clubs Golf Channel. Of course, you can listen on PGA Tour Radio's Channel 92 on Sirius XM. This segment brought to you by Peter Millar. When it comes to a lifestyle brand, meaning anything you might need in your life, They have the answer. It's Peter Millar and petermillar.com. All right, joining me now, kind enough on this Tuesday morning. Got to spend a little time with him back in the spring at the James Hardy. Great to see his face. He, of course, the champion golfer of the year 2011, winning the Open Championship. He will captain the European side at the Skechers World Champions Cup this week. A lot of TV, including network television, the final day. He's Darren Clarke, my friend. Good morning. How you feeling?
All good, Gary. All good. Not looking as well as you, though, but feeling all good.
Let me tell you something. You would look great in this Lyle full zip sweater. I'm telling you. This is right up your alley.
You're a full zip cashmere type of guy. We just know this. It is known.
It is known. It is known. You know, if anybody looked at your roster at this event, first of all, half your team has captained the European Ryder Cup team, including yourself. And then the rest of them, I go, okay, are there Vegas odds as to which team will have the most good red wine this week? You guys, you're off the board. You win easily. And then there's Langer. Then there's Langer. So when you guys get in the team room and you look at him, can you explain Bernhard Langer to the general public?
Bernhard is an icon, obviously. You know, Bernhard is somebody. I played with him in Phoenix there last month on our the Charles Schwab on the Saturday. He shot 65 on the Saturday, just on the blink of an eye, just so easy. He's an incredible man. He's so focused to this day. You know, his preparation exceeds anything you could imagine. Everything he does, he gives 110%, and he's a wonderful man to go along with it. You know, it's difficult for me being the captain, and I've got two Hall of Famers in there, Bernhard and Monty, and I'm supposed to tell them what to do. They should be telling me what to do. So that's a little bit of a challenge. But Bernhard just, yes, Darren, whatever I ask him to do, he's 100% bought in, as are all the guys this week. You know, a couple of years ago when we played the last time, we didn't have the result we wanted. We played well the first day, but then didn't quite carry on from there. So we're trying to improve on our third place finish from the last time.
This format, Furyk said, look, I tried to keep up with the points. I can't. Just tell me the result when it's over. Kind of Mike Weir's same thing. How about pairings wise with, you know, Scott Sixums and six balls, and you're looking at not one opponent, but you're looking at two. How different is that?
Very different, and the guys are right about the scoring. It's very difficult to, whilst you're out competing, keep a track of it. It's all a putt that's holed by the international team could have a huge bearing on the Europeans and the Americans. So it's a very fluid scoring system. I think this year that there's going to be scoreboards all over the place, so it'll be a little bit easier to understand. But you know, the guys have just got to focus on their own game and try and win as many holes as they can. You know, we've got a combination of unbelievable golfers here. I think there's between us all, I think there's 46 major champions here, if I'm not mistaken. So 46 major one, which is pretty impressive if you think about it. So hopefully we will have a great week. The course here at Feather Sound is in sensational condition, and you know, hopefully we can show all those people that us old guys in the Champions Tour we can still play.
You can. There's no doubt. You know, when you became an elite player in the 90s. And I mentioned all these European Ryder Cup captains that'll be part of your team this week at the Skechers World Champions Cup. Look, they lifted you all up, the next generation on their shoulders, Seve and Ali and Langer, and Woozy and Lyle and Faldo. And now this system, this European Ryder Cup system, Darren, I've said it for years, I think it's one of the great teams in global sports over the last 3 decades. Why?
I think one of the big things with the European side is that, you know, we have a bit of a mantra. When you enter the European team room on a Monday morning of the Ryder Cup, you park your ego outside and then you pick it up on the Monday afterwards. So there is nobody any different to anybody else. Doesn't matter what you've achieved, you're all there as one, you're all there as a team. And, you know, to see what Luke and how Luke has nurtured that this past couple of Ryder Cups, especially in Brookline, you know, for that sensational result that Europe had there to come out on top, has just been brilliant. You know, as you rightly said there, those doyens of European golf, as all the people you mentioned, sort of led the way for us a little bit and show what was possible. And then the latest generation, obviously led by Rory and what have you, are bringing that even more to fruition. And certainly as a European, I was glued to every shot down at home in Abercourt at Winding Bay. I watched didn't miss one. The only time I missed the 2 or 3 shots was going to the restroom. So, I was just glued to it. But to see how good those European team guys all gel together, that's what we do in Europe.
It is. With respect to Luke, do you think he should, if given the opportunity, go for 3 in a row?
It would be, I think, unprecedented for somebody to win 3 in a row in the modern era. And if I was a player on Luke's team and this past couple of teams, I would certainly, going by the evidence of how they've played and how they've performed, would want Luke to carry on. That is down to him. There's an awful lot that goes into being a Ryder Cup captain, a lot of stuff behind the scenes, a lot of stuff that people would never really think of. You're trying to take every minuscule bit to give your team an advantage, and he's done that incredibly well this past 2 Ryder Cups. It's going to be a tough decision for him because he's getting a little bit older, and he's going to have maybe goals of coming out here to play on the Champions Tour, like hopefully Tiger's going to do as well for us. But that's a tough decision for him. But certainly from a personal point of view and a European point of view, I would love to see him carry on, take the reins again at Ayr Manor.
When people have an opportunity to hear you talk about things, I know that they lean forward. And one of the things I think, Darren, with you is that people see persona, and that creates perception about, he's carefree, he's laissez-faire. You're a worker. In baseball, there's a term for baseball players, great 2-strike hitters. Like they dig in, they're going to figure it out, they're going to get a hit. I was listening to you tell a great story about working with a guy, Carl Morris, about the think box and the play box. And I want you to explain for everybody, and virtually everybody watching and listening plays golf, about when you get into the play box, just hit the shot and see it, be it, and just explain that.
Yeah, thank you I must try that again this week. That might help. I'm old and forgetful. We did this thing with Carl was, and I used to practice it on the range. I'd put an alignment stick maybe 3 foot short of the ball and an alignment stick 3 foot past the ball, or when I was playing practice rounds. So you would get behind with your caddy, pick out a number, do what you're doing, especially on the golf course. What club is it? So you take a couple of practice swings behind the back alignment stick, right, this is the field, I'm going to hit a little hole, I'm going to hit a little draw, I'm going to flight it this way. So you picture everything. You picture the shots, all part of what we do. And then when you cross that line, like when you step into the ball over that line, you're there and you're in the play box. And most amateurs that I play with, they tend to take too long over the golf ball. The longer you are over the golf ball, the more you have the opportunity of the little guy on your shoulder chirping away, don't hit it in the water, don't hit it here, don't hit it there, and all that sort of stuff. So Carl's theory, which is very good and still to this day works, when you step into that play box, you get yourself set in, you have one look and go. And then wherever the ball goes, if it's not finished where you want it to go, which a lot of the times it doesn't, but if it's a decent shot, great. If it's a bad shot, you're allowed to sort of semi-lose your stuff. But then when you cross that forward one, it's gone. It's absolutely gone. You get into it. And I know you got to take a look at maybe the greats of our sort of era. Tiger was unbelievable. That Tiger, as good as he was just hit some of the most amazing shots. But Tiger, when he was a little bit off, would also hit ones a little bit askew. Yeah. He got annoyed at the time, but he crossed that front line of that thing, and then he was right back into, right, what I need to do from here. So that's the way it was, So it's a case of you do your prep before you cross the line, get yourself ready, step in and go. The longer you spend thinking about it, not necessarily it's going to make a better shot. Most amateurs would benefit from taking a look, hit it, and just accept where it goes and go and hit it again.
You told me a story once. I swear, I think it was an event in Germany you were doing with Tiger. It was a dank, cold, rainy day. You're on the range warming up, and he's behind you, and you're just hearing rifle shots. And people know a wet, muddy range is the worst thing. You're going, oh, God, I'm going to hit everything fat. And all you're hearing is perfection. And then he walked off to go to the first tee, and you looked where he was hitting balls, and it was flawless.
Oh, it was unbelievable. Back in those days, I think it was European Masters. No, it wasn't European Masters. It was one of the big tournaments that we had over in Europe. And Tiger, because of we were both being coached by Butch Harmon at that stage, and I got great with Tiger. He used to rip into me, and I used to rip into him. So whenever he came over to Europe, he would always find where I was and stand beside me and give me dog's abuse, and I would give him dog's abuse. But in those days in Germany, they weren't allowed to use pesticides on the golf course. So, and it had been raining, as you say, and it was wet. There was these little, worm things coming up and all that sort of stuff. And Tiger went through his whole bag and just flushed every shot. And he called me a really bad name and disappeared off to the first tee. And I looked at his divot pattern, and it was like a dinner plate, like a round dinner plate. That there was no mud. You couldn't see any mud. It was just grass that was brushed, which is really hard to understand. Like, even lob wedges, everything. He just picked everything off the top and absolutely flushed every shot. I've never seen it before, and I've never seen it since. It was the most amazing display of ball striking that I will ever see. But that was Tiger. Tiger back in those days was just imperious. He was just brilliant. He was, and I love playing with him. I love watching him. I love trying to pick his brains a little bit. And obviously, if he, as I said, if he does come out here, I'll be trying to kick his butt again. But back in those days, he just pured it. So that was a once in a lifetime thing that I witnessed and was there to actually see.
Yeah, I mean, you perfectly encapsulated him. Of course, he's going to talk at his own event at the top of the hour right here on Golf Channel. Let me ask you about Rory. Well, we spoke with you. We were with you a couple weeks before the Masters. He wins the Masters. He's got the Grand Slam. He's had this magical year, including the centerpiece of the Ryder Cup, winning the Irish Open. He's playing in Australia this week. Is he definitively the greatest European player already?
He's got to be. If he's not, he's right up there at the very top. What he does, I think, his emotions are Seve-ish. Nick Faldo was more somewhat robotic. You take a look at all his features, but Rory wears his heart in his sleeve, doesn't he? He reacts to the crowd. He thrives off the crowd, whether that's good or bad. You saw that at the Ryder Cup, but then you have people pulling so hard for him. He reacts to that as well. He's an unbelievable talent. You've got Rory and Scottie Scheffler up there at the very top of the world rankings at the moment, two of the best players that there's ever been and stuff. And Scottie Scheffler, I hit balls beside Scottie at the Open at Portrush this year and chatted to him briefly. But I mean, he's just hits it so good as well. But two very different players. Scottie's more focused. Scottie takes a course apart, plots his way around. Rowers, you never quite know if there's one going that way or one going that way or whatever. There's not many go that way, but he's just got an aura. When you see Rory McIlroy bouncing up the fairway, if I'm watching, you see he's got a little bit of an extra in his gait. That's when Rory's really on. And in modern day, I love it. Rory came through my foundation from he was like 11 years old, and he was about this height. He's not much bigger now, but he was about this height. But even at that stage, he was unbelievable as an 11-year-old kid. And the game has been good to me. I've been privileged to see some of the greatest players who's ever played this game, and play beside them and watch. And Rory, Tiger, obviously playing a lot of golf with him, practice rounds and everything, and then Rory seeing him come through the foundation at home, and then to develop and be the man that he is today and as good as he is. I've been very, very lucky to actually see that. Not many people get to see the level at which those guys play the game.
Yeah, all of us have been blessed. All right, let's get Darren Clarke out of here. 5 quick questions to go. What's your favorite restaurant in the United States?
I love the one in particular. I love Waxin's up in Palm Beach Gardens.
Okay, very good. All right, the player with the most hilarious temper that you've ever played with?
Gotta be Monty. Monty is the nicest man on the golf course, off the golf course. I'll take that back. Sometimes he can properly lose on the golf course. But in terms of off the golf course, he is unbelievable company. On it, sometimes you're not allowed to breathe.
All right, you like the finer things. If you're going to indulge, would you rather buy a watch or a car?
I've bought way too many of both. Way too many of both. So I've been that. We live in the Bahamas now, so all those
Yes.
sports cars that I used to have, no need for those down there. So if I was going to buy a watch or a car, probably back in the day would have been a car. These days it'd be a watch.
Okay. All right. The best person to share a really good bottle of red late at night and tell golf stories. Who is it?
Ooh, Rory's very partial to his red wine. He likes a really good red wine. But you know, if you want to have somebody that going to talk Miguel, if you can understand what he's saying, but he will definitely drink copious amounts of red wine whilst having a very fine cigar to go with it. And if you understand them, it depends. I think after one bottle, you start understanding him better. And if you don't understand them, you just nod, yes, and nod and pretend to laugh. You know that one? That's Miguel.
All right. Last thing.
Yes, sir.
The most unconscious golf you've ever witnessed. When you looked at that person, you went, he's in a state, and I don't know when he's going to come out of that state. Was it around? Was it over the course of? What's the best unconscious golf you've ever seen?
Oh, these are very difficult questions for 8:10 in the morning. Mind you, I've no hangover, so it should be better at answering the question. The most unconscious, I would have to say watching Tiger in his prime. I think Tiger had, not only did Tiger have the aura about him, but he had the mindset where he hit some shots. It was just unbeatable. He was one of those, it made no difference. And he was, even whenever I played with him and I was one of his friends, there wasn't an awful lot of conversation. You know, he was so into his own thing that outside influences didn't really come into the equation. And because his focus was so good, and I think that was a lot of meditation and stuff, all inspired by his dad from a very young age, that got him into that mental side of the thing. Because I watched your clip of your last little bit off the field coming down in Hero there.
Yes.
And, you know, you were saying about guys who are right outside the top 100 and back in and all that sort of stuff. Make no mistake, you watch any of those guys on any given day, they can be the best player in the world. And the little bit that separates the true greats from all these other amazing players is that little bit up there. And that little bit constitutes whatever you want to call it, a half a shot around, whatever it does. But when you're going from, when you're up at the very, very top of our sport, up, you know, at the very top, those little things make a difference. And we're always looking for those little things just to help a little bit more. But I think Tiger was of all the people that I played with and watched, Tiger was the most complete package. But again, Tiger didn't have the carefree freedom that you see Rory play with, carefree abandon that you see Rory play with at times. You know, those two are my favorite two people to play with ever, because you watch Rory just freewheel it, rip it, send it up there. Tiger was a little bit more precision based. You know, he would fade it into a right flag, he would draw it into a left flag. He was playing chess all the way around the golf course and do it. Sometimes Rory just sends it straight at the flag. Doesn't matter what the percentages are, he'll just go at it. So it depends, you know, just different. But I think Tiger in his zone, when he was right there at his absolute prime, he was just a different league.
Yeah, and even though you've given all these platitudes to Tiger, you'll always have La Costa. You know it, but more importantly, he knows it.
Well, he left a note on my locker after Lacoste. I had a really good day. He had a bad day. He didn't play well. But and that was right when he was playing brilliantly. He left a note on my locker on the local rules sheet, and he stuck it on the locker because I had to do media and stuff afterwards. And he said, well done, be proud, P.S. you're still a FF. I'm not going to tell you what FF stands for, but for the learned people out there, I'm sure some of them could figure that out.
Absolutely. Hey, listen,
nice.
I always appreciate the time. Happy holidays. Have a great week with your team.
You too. Thank you, Guy. Great to see you. And hopefully Europe will get another little win this week.
There we go. There is Darren Clarke. He will captain Europe at the Skechers World Champions Cup. Delightful time to always spend talking golf and other things with him. We take a break. Tom Coyne, who was just with Darren last week down in the Bahamas at the Abaco Club, he is the editor of Golfer's Journal and, of course, Broken Tee Society, an author, a professor. What can he do? He joins me next. Welcome back into Five Clubs this Tuesday edition, live here in Charlotte on not only Golf Channel, but you can listen if you're leaving the home, PGA Tour Radio, Channel 92 on Sirius XM. This segment is brought to you by Century Insurance. Business insurance needs, they meet them every single day. They will be right by you. Century Insurance. All right, joining me now, he is an author, was a professor. He is the editor of Golfers Journal and, of course, Broken Tee Society, the podcast. And he might as well be a Rolling Stone because he gathers no moss. I would hope he'll be at home in the Philadelphia area on Christmas Day. He's Tom Coyne. Good morning, my friend. How you doing?
Gary, I'm doing well. Great to be with you. You're looking good.
Well, I'm feeling good, Billy Ray. You've had a very eventful year. I want to get to places and people in a moment, but I want to start with this book that you guys put together. It's called Quiet Please, which if one person came up with a name, they deserve credit. If the team came up with a name, they all deserve credit. It's a beautiful, bona fide keepsake coffee table book from Golfers Journal for your membership, for your premier subscribers. I got mine last week. And like I do with Golfers Journal, which I just got the winter edition, I take my time because I want it to last a very long time. What did you want to achieve with this? What was the objective of this keepsake coffee table book?
Well, first of all, Gary, thank you for being a premium member of the Broken Tee Society and getting your copy of Quiet Please. Yeah, we wanted to achieve a few different things with it. I mean, you know, we're member supported. Everything we do with the Golfers Journal is because of our members. So we put a lot of time and effort into the premium gift. You know, we make something bespoke for our members. And for it'd been a couple years we've been kicking around the idea of doing a book, a hardbound book that we could use as our premium gift, but you know how to do it the right way, how to do it in a way that would surprise and interest and really convey to our members how much we appreciate them. So it was a few years of work, and I think what we wanted to accomplish is for you to receive it and feel like, man, I'm really glad that I have this, you know, that I'm going to enjoy it, collect it, put it somewhere good where people can see it, and then actually read it as well. You know, I think the experience of going through Quiet Please, which is, you know, full of, I think, exceptional photography by, you know, the best photographers in golf. The words aren't bad either, but I'll leave that for other people to judge. I had the opportunity to write about 20 short pieces that run throughout the book, aimed at creating an experience, like as you mentioned, where it makes you pause, right? So when you pick up a book of this size, it's time to stop scrolling, right? And hopefully you can get lost in it a little bit, the images and some of the stories that aren't really there to tell my golf story, but are there to remind you of your own, remind you what you love about golf, you know, why you play golf, to sort of create a mood and experience. So the whole thing is Quiet Please because I think the book itself is a chance like to pause and have some quiet with this book. And I think, you know, in the world we live in, that can be a valuable thing. So hopefully our members enjoy it, and really the size and the weight of it is a physical manifestation of how much we appreciate their support.
It's reflected, there's no doubt. When you guys launched Golfers Journal, the Broken Tee Society, you have this very robust schedule of wonderful events, not just here, but around the world. What have you learned about what golfers want with their time through the game?
I think that we've certainly learned that they want quality, right? They want quality in the books, in the magazines we produce, quality in our events, quality in podcasts, quality in films. You know, there's a lot of different, you know, voices and sounds out there in golf, and so quality is number one on the list of what I think a Broken Tee Society member is looking for. I think they also want, they want to have fun, they want to be surprised, they want to be entertained, and those are all things that, you know, it's a great business to be in because it forces you to keep thinking about what your members do want and how can you surprise them next, and how can you elevate what you're doing, and how can you maintain what they appreciate about what you do while continuing to evolve. So I also think that we've learned that our golf audience is pretty thoughtful. They're pretty sophisticated. That if you give them, you don't have to give them just 200-word snippets. They'll sit down and read a 5,000-word story if it's done well and gets their attention and has something important to say. And that's what we're able to do in the Golfers Journal, which is what I love about it, as someone who tends to write a little bit long. If you give them something to think about, they're going to stick around for it, and that's been wonderful.
It's been good times. It's been good years for the game, and now you have all these people who have cultural relevancy, like Darren Clarke and LeBron, and obviously Steph has loved it for a long, long time. Jason Kelsey, who's now one of your investors / co-owners of Sullivan County, Josh Allen. You got a lot of people who like golf. What value do they give the game of golf?
Yeah, it's what an interesting time, right? A very different game than when I was growing up, and you only played if your mom or dad played, and yes. it was your grandfather's game. So I think what it immediately does is it brings eyeballs, right? Which is, for anyone in golf, the more eyeballs, the better. But I also think it sort of has created this a hall pass, if you will, to go and try golf. That golf is cool. I mean, yes, Tiger made golf cool, but then seeing this other sort of the celebrity and people you're seeing on social media, playing golf and enjoying it. I think that if anyone's golf curious, it's basically, it's not your grandfather's game, right? And you don't play just because someone in your family did. You probably play now maybe because you saw someone on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and maybe thought you could give it a shot. So I think that as a way just to bring more people around golf, that's wonderful. Now, where they go from there, I'm not sure. Hopefully to the Broken Tee Society. I think the net impact is great. I mean, just who cares what their names are? Seeing people enjoying golf, it's awesome.
It's interesting you mentioned all these different ways that you can consume golf, not only the way you play it in a more abbreviated amount of time, but also the way you consume it and watch it in a more condensed fashion, which gets to this. Look, the elite men's game is fractured, and people are like, wow, that could affect that sport, that product could affect the game. I don't know, can it? Can this prolonged kind of fracturing of the men's game at the highest level have an impact on people's willingness to participate?
I think, thankfully, not. I think that folks who have, I think that there's probably, it's not much ado about nothing, but there's more ado about nothing when it comes to the impact of what's going on in the professional game to the recreational golfer, or the casual golfer, or the weekend golfer, or even the club golfer, right? The people who came to golf during COVID, they came for a certain number of reasons, right? Hopefully those reasons for them haven't changed. And none of those reasons were who was playing golf on television on Sunday. So, hopefully those golfers are sticking around for the benefits that they found from golf. I think the only downside is the lost potential upside of having the best players playing all the time together on the weekend. Yeah, there's certainly there could be benefits from that, but I think the negatives have kind of washed out of the system at this point of this fracturing in pro golf. And what we have now on the golf landscape, I don't think anything that happens at that level is necessarily going to impact participation or how much people love golf. Hey, selfishly, I'd love to see some of these guys play golf together more than 4 times a year, but it's not going to make me, it's not going to slow me down from heading to the first tee today.
No, and I think, look, if this was 20 years ago and the only way people could kind of consume what golf is through that one television product, then I think it would be more precarious and more vulnerable. There are a lot of people who love golf who don't watch Sunday afternoon, they're watching YouTube golf on a Wednesday night. And that, I think, insulates the game overall in a much better way. I want to ask you about another book that's coming soon, A Course Called Home. There was a course called Scotland, still is, course called Ireland, course called America, and now a course called Home. Your latest book that's going to be available soon enough in 2026. What did you get out of this exercise? Because the others were all over, going here, going there. This was one place, the place that you are now owning. What did you get out of it?
I got more than I could have asked for out of it. You know, this was in any number of ways. One, I got a golf course. I now own a golf course along with a number of other wonderful partners. I learned a ton. I learned about myself. I learned about the Catskills. I learned about Sullivan County. You know, that's where this golf course is in the New York Catskills. So I learned about a place. I learned about people. I learned about the things that I'm not good at, which is a lot longer list than I thought going into this project. But yes, it's different from the other stories where I was here, there, and everywhere, right? And just sort of the stories developing as you find yourself in a new town or a new golf course. This was a place this was an opportunity to sit down and get to really know a place and establish relationships and develop characters over the course of 3 years. The story goes from 2023 to 2025. So to be able to sort of talk about how people change, relationships change, how a place is changing, and be able to sort of sit and watch it from one point of view, that was a new thing for me that I hadn't really done since much earlier in my career. So it was nice to be in one place. I know Allison, my wife, appreciated that as well. But yeah, I learned that golf and running a golf course is and maintaining a golf course, where I actively participated in that process as well. The folks who are doing that deserve all the gratitude and all the appreciation. They're on the front lines. They're making golf possible. They're making golf happen. And so there has been a shift in my perspective on who we really owe our thanks to in golf.
Well, the book, Quiet Please, available for the premier subscribers and members of the Golfers Journal, the Broken Tee Society. The new book, A Course Called Home, coming soon in 2026. Have a great holiday season. Enjoy that round of golf today. Good to see you.
Great to see you, Gary. Thanks for having me.
Of course, Tom Coyne, the editor of Golfers Journal, and that was brought to you by Century Insurance. Those are winning words from a guy who can craft words as well as anybody, talking about the stories that the game provides, which are limitless. We take a break, some final thoughts. Top of the hour, Tiger Woods presser live here on Golf Channel. You'll also hear it on PGA Tour Radio. Back with you right after this. Couple minutes left here on this Tuesday on 5 Club's Golf Channel, PGA Tour Radio, Sirius XM's Channel 92. This segment brought to you by Golf Pride. When it comes to the options you have, look at their entire line. It's more robust than anybody, but most importantly, the best materials. Golf Pride, the standard in golf, grips globally. Tiger Woods going to talk in just a couple of minutes, top of the hour here on Golf Channel from Albany at the Hero World Challenge, his event. He's going to be asked about contraction, that meaning contraction of the PGA Tour schedule. Most importantly, he's probably going to be asked, and he'll be, whatever information he's going to give on his health and how he feels after the latest procedure that he had. He's going to be asked about the Ryder Cup captaincy as well. He's going to be asked about LIV Golf and how important it is for there to be some type of resolution so that these players can co-op more tournaments. You can count on all that, but it's interesting. Tiger's going to turn 50 at the end of this month. And consider this, Tiger and Jack affirmed in Aladar, neck and neck, different generations. When Jack was 50, after playing in 146 straight majors from 62 to 1998, Tiger, when he turned pro in 1997, played in 46 straight. The last 65 majors, he's missed 22 of those because of injury. Jack didn't. But when Jack was 50, Jack played in 9 events on the PGA Tour that year. That was 1990. Finished 6th at the Masters and shot 74 in the final round, shot 76 in the final round of the 1990 U.S. Open at Medina, and finished tied for third. And he also played in 4 senior events, Champions Tour events. He won 2 of them. He finished second in the other, U.S. Senior Open. He finished third in the other, the Senior PGA. So those are 13 events that he played at the age of 50. I think it's unrealistic. I hope I'm wrong, dead wrong, that we could see Tiger play 13 events in the year of 2026. Because if he does, I think it's, look, I think 9 is way too many. Well, let's say if he could play 5, 3 major championships for the regular majors, of obviously which he's won all 4, at least 3 times, and maybe 2 senior majors, including that U.S. Senior Open. But I look forward to hearing what he has to say, because there's an infrequency to how often we get to hear his thoughts on a whole host of items. And his words have weight. So Tiger's presser coming up in just a couple of minutes. For us tomorrow, Craig Kessler, the commissioner of the LPGA, with me for an extended period of time, and Grant Boone to talk some women's golf, some college golf. Have a great Tuesday. Tiger coming up, top of the hour. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody.